Ulcers. It's all his spoiled brat's fault.
At those words, my husband, Bob, kicks our daughter, Emily, away. I've reached my breaking point. I thrust the already filled-out divorce papers at him. Bob smirks confidently, reaching out to grab the divorce papers, but Emily snatches them away. She then proceeds to rip the papers to shreds. Oh, Dad, this is exactly what you want, isn't it? I found out some shocking truths after talking with my daughter. My name is Nancy. I live with my husband, Steve, and our daughter, Ashley. Ashley is in 8th grade, a pretty tumultuous age for a girl. Her aversion to her dad has become increasingly intense lately. Steve has been super busy with work, leaving little time to interact with Ashley. Back when she was in elementary school, Steve used to come home on time and we spent a lot of quality family time together. That's rarely the case now. Ashley seems pleased that her dad is absent, but I can't help but feel a little lonely. Even on weekends when Steve is home, our rebellious daughter avoids the living room and doesn't speak to us at all. She doesn't even greet us, but Steve seems unbothered by it. Truth be told, Steve has always been indifferent towards Ashley, but from the moment she was born until now. My husband never interfered with how I raised our daughter. While it might be easier without someone constantly chiming in, I was frustrated by his blatant indifference. I grew up with a single mom, just the two of us. Having been just the two of us for as long as I can remember, I never knew a father's love. That's probably why I yearn for my husband to show our daughter the love she deserves. But his indifference makes me feel like he's making her feel lonely. I've always believed that even if I voiced my concerns, he probably wouldn't heed them. That's why I've kept silent all this time. Then, one day after work, I came home to see tears streaming down our daughter's face. Brooks worried something might have happened at school. I persistently asked, "What's wrong?" But she just replied, "It's nothing," and didn't elaborate. She went straight to her room and without having dinner, went to sleep. I was restless and couldn't sleep that night. However, the next morning, she got up as usual, went to school, and came home like her typical self. I chalked it up to typical teenage mood swings and didn't press her any further on the matter. I kept an eye on her and sensed she seemed no different than usual. I felt relieved. But then my husband's behavior started to get weird. One day, when our daughter got home late from her extracurriculars, he asked, "No, I'm home today."
Oh, I'm home, Jum.
All greetings are basic, you know. And hey, you're Billite. Are you even actually participating in your activities? If you're just messing around, you don't need to go.
What's gotten into? So annoying.
After saying that, my daughter went upstairs to her room. Even though he never cared how late she came home before, my husband suddenly started to lecture her. He kept going on and on about it until finally she snapped, "Enough already. It's just practice. What's the big deal?" When she talked back, his face turned red with anger.
"Enough? Who do you think you're talking to?" he yelled.
She looked surprised for a moment, but ignored him and went into her room. "Hold on. Aren't you being a bit harsh? What's gotten into you?
She's getting cheeky lately. It's because we're not disciplining her properly. Osta was never an issue before. She's only acting out because you suddenly started butting in. Let's chat up. It's your fault she's acting this way. And now he started complaining to me too.
He never had an opinion when I consulted him about parenting our daughter, and now he's suddenly acting like a dad. She's just going to rebound. Out of nowhere, he started telling her, "Take a bath now," or clean the bathroom and the front porch. He commands he'd never given before. Our daughter was obviously irritated with him.
Why is he butting in all of a sudden when he's never said anything before? Do you talk to him?
I'm not sure, but maybe he wants you to grow up to be a responsible adult.
Coming from someone who's not a responsible adult himself, and a backstabber at that.
Huh, did you say something?
Just tell Dad to zip it.
I won't say it that bluntly, but I'll let him know he's going too far. That night when my husband got home from work, I passed along our daughter's message. Sarah is getting irritated, so maybe lay off the lecturing. She's often late coming home because she's talking with friends or cleaning up after club activities. It's all part of her school life, so cut her some slack.
No way, that's no excuse for coming home late or not helping out with chores. Oh, she's at school to study, right?
And her club activities are for improving her skills, right? She's not there just to hang out with friends. She's losing sight of her purpose. Hey, Sarah. Maybe I phrased it wrong, but my husband called Sarah into the living room. What's up?
What'd you say to Naomi? Speak for yourself.
What a hassle.
What did you just say?
I said it's a hassle.
Who do you think provides for this family? Without me, you wouldn't even be here.
My daughter, frightened by my husband's demeanor, silently stared at me. I tried to speak calmly, hoping not to upset him further. You need to calm down. This isn't discipline, it's verbal abuse. Sarah is just living her life like any other kid.
It's because you're too lenient that this happens.
Enough, Dad, just stay out of my business. At that, my daughter headed to her room, my husband shouting after her. The atmosphere was terrible, and I was at a loss for what to do. I grew up without a father, and seeing this, I thought maybe it's better not to have one at all. Hesitated to divorce him before, fearing my daughter would feel the loneliness of having a single parent and might compare herself to others. But now it seems better without him around. That changed exterior when I began feeling uneasy about how he treated Sarah. I'd gone to the city hall and picked up divorce papers. My part is already filled out, so I can file for divorce anytime. However, I feel it might be premature. So maybe he's just being dad now and will become indifferent again, and Sarah might not be any more resistant to him than she is now. One day, while I was wrestling with such worries, I came home from work to find my husband and daughter already there. As I walked through the front door, I heard them yelling at each other. Hussing, I hurried to the living room and stepped between them, trying to break up the fight, when I noticed my daughter trying to say something to me. My husband grabbed her by the collar and pulled her away from me. "Kay, let go of her." Mom, listen, he was just on the phone and my daughter was desperate to tell me something, but my husband was hell-bent on stopping her. He just told me on the phone that she started, but my husband interrupted, shouting, "I wish you'd never been born." That's when my daughter froze. Hey, what kind of a thing is that to say to your own daughter? Find her as apologize?
Shut up. There's a fault for being so selfish. If she doesn't listen to me, then she deserves to hear this.
My husband yelled, pointing at our daughter. My husband was yelling and pointing at our daughter. It's with tears streaming down her face, she retorted, "I never asked to be born to a father like you." At that, my husband walked over and kicked her. "What the hell are you doing? Enough is enough." I embraced my daughter. I've reached my limit. I've been holding back on divorce, but kicking our daughter is unacceptable behavior for a parent. That's even as a single parent. I know that much. I handed my husband the already filled out divorce papers, saying, "Let's get divorced." I thought I saw a smirk cross his face. But then our daughter snatched the divorce papers and tore them to shreds. "Molly, what's going on?" They're playing right into Dad's hands. "What do you mean?" When I asked my daughter, she started spilling some shocking news. "He's having an affair." "What, an affair?" Then Molly began to calmly explain what had happened. And apparently, the fight today started when she walked in on her dad talking on the phone.
He said, I want a divorce, but alimony's a pain. If I'm tough on Molly, my wife will initiate the divorce herself.
So don't worry. I'm gonna keep yelling at Molly for no reason. It'll be over soon. My daughter, Emily, overheard him, and it seems he told her, "Keep this quiet from your mom," but she refused. It appears this led to a big argument between them. And you know how he's been saying he's working late for the past few years. That's all BS. What do you mean? This happened a while back when Emily was coming home from her after-school club activities. She took a different route to stop by a friend's house. She noticed her dad's car parked at a convenience store and was just about to pass by. That's when she saw her dad coming out of the store, hand in hand with a woman she didn't recognize. The reason I was crying when I came home from school was this. I felt ashamed to think that such a person is my father, but I didn't want to hurt you. So I felt like I couldn't tell you yet. Oh, Emily, you were thinking of me that much. Well, I'm touched by Emily's kindness. My anger toward my husband isn't letting up. He cheated and even raised his hand to our precious daughter. There's no forgiving that. However, I didn't want things to go his way, just as Emily said. As I'm wrestling with what to do, he says, "Fine, whatever." I was thinking of divorcing anyway. I'll pay alimony, okay? I never wanted to, but dealing with you two is getting tedious. I'll just move in with her and you two can keep this house since you'll be miserable without me. Is that so? Then please leave as soon as possible. Don't need you to tell me. I was going to anyway. At that, he packed his bags and left. Then she stirred. Emily apologized to me. "I'm sorry. Mom, I knew that keeping quiet would hurt you. I knew about it and still said nothing. I'm the one who should apologize for making you feel this way. It's my failing as a mother. Your dad is gone now. Will you be okay with it just being the two of us? I'd rather it be just us two. I don't want to think of him as my father anymore. Get that? Emily and I shared a laugh. Divorcing my husband was a big decision, but I feel surprisingly relieved. However, just a few hours after he left, the doorbell rang. Checking the intercom, I saw my husband standing there with an unfamiliar man. The man who was never supposed to come back was at my doorstep. And who is this man with him? I turned on the intercom's microphone to speak. Who might you be? I am the husband of the woman your husband is cheating with. Excuse me? He showed up unannounced at our home with his bags, intending to move in. When I asked what was going on, he told me he was getting a divorce. I came here to verify the facts. Understanding the situation, I explained our circumstances to the man. Then he seemed to understand and grabbed my husband by the collar, saying, "Prepare yourself. I'll be seeking alimony. You're trash for betraying your family." My husband retorted, "What about you? Your wife is cheating on you too. Doesn't that make your wife trash as well?" Trash as well. You son of a, don't joke around. Feeling that a fight was about to break out at the doorstep, I told my daughter to call someone for help. Shouting could be heard from outside for a while, but it suddenly went quiet. I figured the person we called had arrived. The person I had my daughter call was my father-in-law. I called him to take my husband away. My daughter had explained the situation over the phone, so my father-in-law began yelling at my husband to apologize to the man. My husband was resistant, but my father-in-law is a black belt in judo. He clearly had the upper hand. He forcefully grabbed my husband by the scruff of the neck and made him bow his head. I'll be contacting you through my lawyer for the alimony later. Thank you for your cooperation. I apologize for all the inconvenience. I'll give you my address, so please send any bills or documentation there. With that, the man left. Once I saw that my in-laws had arrived, I opened the front door. As soon as he walked in, my husband said, "You heard what happened earlier, right?" I was deceived. That's why I came back. Let's continue living together. The divorce is already decided. I filled out the divorce papers, so just sign them when you can. I'm not cheating anymore, so we're good, right? Let's start anew. Don't be so self-serving. Father-in-law, could you please take him back with you and give him the divorce papers? Of course. With that, my father-in-law grabbed my husband's head and made him bow deeply. Then my in-laws also bowed their heads in apology. "I'm really sorry for everything. I'll pay $60,000 for alimony, which is above the market rate. I'll also pay child support on top. I'm truly sorry. Extek community. Unmoko." Hey, hold on a minute. What about my feelings? You can't just decide this on your own. My husband started to resist, but it was too late. My father-in-law quickly shut him down with a stern look. As my in-laws then took my subdued husband away, A few days later, my father-in-law came back with a lawyer to settle the alimony and child support arrangements. Throughout the process, my husband looked like he wanted to say something, but he couldn't muster the courage to speak up in front of his father. He just nodded along with whatever the lawyer said. My husband faced a total bill of $90,000, $60,000 for alimony, and $30,000 for child support. There was no way he could afford that kind of money. In the end, my in-laws fronted the money to pay me. It seems he borrowed money to pay off his affair partner's fiancé. Now my husband is working like crazy every day to pay off his debts. He's also been put on a tight leash by his parents, who switched out his smartphone for a basic one with GPS tracking to monitor his whereabouts. I also filed for alimony from the man I was cheated on with. His engagement seems to have ended as well. It's a hard lesson. Betray others and you won't find happiness. Ever since my husband left, my daughter has turned into a very obedient and gentle child. As for us two women living together, we plan on having a harmonious life from here on out.